We are now going to have a little bit of an American time, guys. The Super Bowl is this weekend. I don't know if anybody here watches American football or the NFL, but it's a big deal. So I thought I would give you a little bit of a lesson as to why it's a big deal, then give you my hot take on the Super Bowl overall. Those of you who are not familiar, if you are, then feel free to chime in with your, anything that you know that I might not cover, and let me know your thoughts and if it's something that you'd be interested in. So the American Super Bowl is an unofficial holiday in the U.S., whereas I don't know anyone who didn't watch the Super Bowl for one reason or another, and there's tons of reasons that people watch it. We're going to go through in a minute. But it is definitely something that is very much watched. And it is weird because the game is on a Sunday night. So lots of people take the Monday off. I guess if they're real football nerds and stuff. I never did because I didn't care. Anyway. So the game is created as part of a 1966 merger agreement between the National Football League and the competing American Football League. I believe the AFL has now been disbanded. But to have their best teams compete for a championship, it was originally called the AFL-NFL World Championship Game until Super Bowl. The moniker Super Bowl was adopted in 1969 Super Bowl, which was Super Bowl III. Woohoo. What's this one now? It's like 58 or something like that. I don't know. So there's a huge pregame hoopla. There's a huge lead up to the game. Pregame shows start at 12 or 1 o'clock. The game starts at 6. So they're all day. They talk about stats from all the teams, the players, the coaches, history of Super Bowl. Sometimes they have local bands, the high school band, college band or something play. Sometimes they'll just have local artists play. They'll former players, former Super Bowl winners, things like that. And there's usually a highly televised and publicized and advertised interview with the President of the United States prior to the start of the Super Bowl game. It's a huge, huge deal. Every president has done it, I think, since like Clinton or Bush, something like that. I don't remember it ever watching it. But the only reason I remember it now is because Biden did not do it last year, and it was a huge deal. For obvious reasons, he didn't do it. Trump will be doing it this year, and I'm very curious on how that's going to go. Tons and tons of Super Bowl parties. We have Super Bowl parties in our offices. We have Super Bowl parties in the schools. We have Super Bowl parties at friends and family's homes, local restaurants, all that stuff. We do a potluck lunch on the Friday before Super Bowl. It's crazy. Usually on the Sunday, I just sounded super British because I said the Sunday. Usually on Super Bowl Sunday, you'll go over a friend's house or family member's house right when the pregame show starts, and you'll just watch all that shit on TV. It'll be at least on background while you're participating in the rest of the festivities, which of course includes food. Traditionally, it's things like buffalo wings and chili, baby back ribs, pizza, potato chips, and extra long Subway sandwiches. Not Subway, like sub sandwiches. So they're like Subway sandwiches, but they're like originals, and they're like 5 feet long or something. Like they're humongous, obviously cut into pieces. So you just go and grab a sandwich because you're really literally eating and snacking all day long. People will dress up in jerseys. Alcohol is very prevalent. Typically, you'll do things like either have a football game in your backyard, or maybe you'll play like beer pong or something like that. Have those kinds of things going on as well. As the game starts, obviously, because it's America, we have to sing the national anthem before the game. And it's a huge deal who's going to sing the national anthem, almost as big as who's going to be the halftime performer. And then they do this coin toss. It is a big deal because they do some kind of commemorative coin. And apparently it has an influence on the game because it determines who kicks off first and who receives first. And I think I might have the stat wrong, so don't quote me. But 60% of the time, the person might be the receiving. One of the sides ends up winning the game. So it's like a big deal to like win the coin toss and be able to pick whether you're going to kick the ball first or receive the ball first. It's all about the stats because it's an American sports event. So it's broadcast in 130 countries and watched in more than 30 languages. And it's one of the most watched sporting events in the world. Now, I don't know if this stat is from an American publication because I doubt that it has as many people watching it as the World Cup does. World Cup's insanely huge. So it has so many more participants in it. It just makes more sense. Commercials are huge. There are people who watch the game just for the commercials. There are people who watch the game just for the halftime show. And there are people who go to the party just for the social aspect. And they come with big price tags. Super Bowl ads, at least for this for the 2025 Super Bowl, are between $7 and $8 million per ad. So it's fucking ridiculous. For like 30 seconds to a minute or something. It's insane. I saw another stat where it's like some brands will spend half of their marketing budget just on a Super Bowl ad or something like that. Sometimes people just watch it for that and then they don't watch the game. It's really crazy. They even take timeouts during the game to run the ads. So betting on the game is very common. Sometimes you'll just do it between friends or loved ones or wherever the party that you're going to. But it's huge in the office. Like I said, usually the Friday before, we'll do the potluck. Everyone will bring something in. People will wear their jerseys. And they'll even have the charts to pick the boxes of who's going to win and all that kind of stuff. Many people play the gridiron challenge, which is what I was going to say, where they fill in squares based on the game's actions and plays. They'll pick a square as well as for what the score will be at the end of each quarter and who will win ultimately. And they'll pick numbers. They'll be like, oh, the score is going to end in 7-1. And then you'll win a portion if they end up winning 7-11 or whatever. And then betting and offers pools go on for like weeks leading up to the game. So you'll do the boxes. You have to buy a box in order to play. And then you can also do betting on who's going to win. And then sometimes people get really into it and will bet who's going to score, how many points they're going to score, how many yards they're going to run, all that kind of stuff. And then it's all about the halftime show. So performing the halftime show is a huge honor. And it's, like I said, a lot of people only watch it for the halftime show. It can be extremely controversial. Ask Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake. I don't know if you guys know that story, but I suggest you look it up. But it's a huge freaking ordeal, huge spectacle. Everyone tries to outdo the previous performer, and it's a huge honor to be asked to do it. They get paid like the entertainment union rate. But the NFL, because it's such a big deal and it draws in so many people, the NFL actually covers the cost of production and travel, which is unusual for an American franchise. But it's such an honor that they don't even really get paid scale, but any extra would get paid, basically. So the key takeaways, from my opinion, about the Super Bowl, it is an integral part of American culture. It does bring some communities together. Lots of debates about the best commercials, people talking about who sang the national anthem, people talking about the halftime show, in addition to all of the sports people talking about the sports aspect of it. But for me, in my opinion, it's really just a great big advertisement for the NFL. And if you never saw a Super Bowl game, you're not missing much, in my opinion.